preserve the lead. Good ball, Foden now. Great pass, City will score. That is absolutely delightful. Here comes Foden on for a hat-trick. Foden takes his chance. Maybe a strike, it's low and it's in. And it's Kevin De Bruyne. Gabriel Jesus will try and go this alone. It's Gabriel Jesus. It's 2-0. Gabriel Jesus has come to Foden. This time around, Foden finishes. 3-0 to City. One back, it's with Aguero. Weaves inside and out, Aguero! Sergio Aguero with the goal. Cross comes in, Aguero with the header. He's done it again. Has support, here's Milner. He's through, and it's 2 for Manchester City. That surely seals the deal now.
Sané, Gabriel Jesus, and that's it! This time it is in!
Foden, he had to take the one touch to control and he finishes off on the stroke of half-time. Manchester City are back on terms. Now they've lost it again. McNeil clips in a low ball and Everton score! Turned in by Jack Harrison, set up by McNeil. Mahrez could cut inside here, cuts back outside, delivers that to Haaland. He's got another goal in the Premier League. Erling Haaland scores on 23 minutes. With the strike and finds the net. Everton are back on terms.
Our boys in blue are back at the Etihad. We take on Everton in the lunchtime kick-off, a game kicking off a big week here for Manchester City. A trip to Copenhagen coming up in midweek. And the Blues could be top of the Premier League. They will be with a win today against Everton. Missed the early kick-off. Manchester City haven't lost any of their last 23 Premier League games against sides in the relegation zone. The last time it happened this late on in the season was back in March of 2015, losing 1-0 at Sean Dyche's Burnley at the time. Sean Dyche having to watch on from the stand today. He won't be alongside Pep Guardiola on the touchline. He's serving a ban. Early team news. That man, Phil Foden, will start today. 8 goal involvements in his last 6 Premier League appearances, scoring 4, assisting 4. Well, what a player he is. Still somehow going under the radar. Delighted to be joined by Richard Dunn, Sean Wright-Phillips. Great to have you two legends amongst us in the studio today. Is it 626 appearances for the club between you? That's some number.
You clearly know more.
A club that, well, Everton is a club that City love to play against. Sean, you had some brilliant moments. That 5th goal in back in 2003-2004 season, a typical winger's goal, flying in from the side, cutting in, and it was a brilliant goal. It's one that I love to watch back.
Yeah, I've also been, my first red card was against that Goodison Park as well, so there's been some good times and some obviously sad times there, but it's always a rivalry that's fully contested, and it's always been a tough team to play against, and obviously there was a harder.
Take a look at the goal now. Typical winger's goal. Look at that.
The young me.
Lovely. Look
That's
at
the
that.
young me. I think I can still do that, you know.
I've seen that. I've seen that come up as goal of the day quite a few times on the City socials. Yeah, lovely control, typical winger's goal. Richard, you actually came through at Everton and then signed to City. So memories of playing for both clubs.
Yeah. Everton was a great club, still is, obviously, but it was a great place to learn your trade. Obviously, the club hasn't gone on to have the success of what City has had, but at that stage, the two of them are pretty similar in size, and they've just been unfortunate with how they've been managed and how they've sort of developed as a club, but a brilliant place with great fans, so it's always special coming to watch them play or going back to Goodison, so I'm looking forward to the game today.
And we mentioned there Phil Foden in great form. The 12:30 fixture last week in the Premier League, Everton were in that as well against Spurs, and that kicked off a record-breaking weekend in the Premier League when it comes to goals. If there's someone on the score sheet, do you think it will be that man Phil Foden today?
Well, the current form that he's in, it wouldn't surprise me. It's either he scores or he gets the assist or he plays a major part in the goal that comes, and hopefully for City it goes that way. But the fact that he's playing so well and continue to play that well, because it was almost a worry when Kevin was out. They didn't know who was going to fill that void. Alvarez and Phil stepped up to the plate, and then when Kevin comes back, you think maybe one of them may not play.
Yeah.
And as Pep does, he finds a way to play all the best players, and he's made it work with all of them. And we saw that against Brentford. It was pretty much one-way traffic for 90 minutes. Of course, they scored, but the end result was what should have happened initially. So to see him play again today live is going to be tremendous.
We will talk more about the team news, but let's find out that full team news in detail from FG and Neil Lennon.
Good morning and welcome to the Etihad Stadium. It's an early kick-off here, and I've got the Manchester City team news to reveal to you for the game against Everton. In goal is Ederson, and then there is a start for John Stones. Then it is Manu Akanji, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, Rodri, Nunes, Foden, Alvarez, Doku and Erling. Haaland. The substitutes for Manchester City are Stefan Ortega, Kyle Walker, Jack Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Josko Vardiol, Oscar Bob, Jacob Wright, and our very own Rico Lewis. Joining me pitchside is an absolute legend. I'm so delighted to be back here with you, by the way.
Nice to see you again.
We are joined by Neil Lennon. We've seen the Manchester City team news. There's only one place to start, and I think it's the 4 centre-halves back in the starting lineup. The last time we saw that, we won the treble.
Yeah, I mean, the treble's on again, you know, but I think what he's looking at is games coming up that he has in mind for John Stones maybe to step in there and partner Rodri and, you know, build that square again in the midfield. I'm excited about the game today. You know, I think they're in brilliant form. We were here for the Burnley game a couple of weeks ago, and City were outstanding. Looking forward to seeing Nunes and Doku again, who, you know, they bring a fresh impetus to the team. So, yeah, I know he's made some changes, but that has to be the way at the minute.
Now, we obviously for the Burnley game, this man was a good luck charm, so let's hope you're the same again today. Let's move on to Jeremy Doku, as you just mentioned. In a game like this, how important is it to have an electric winger and someone who can get the fans off their feet? Because you expect Everton to potentially sit back against the City side, which they've done here before.
Well, it's something City come up with at the Etihad most weeks, you know, and what you need is someone who can break the lines or have that bit of individuality, and Doku has it in spades. You know, against the Burnley here, the right back had a terrible time against him. He can go on the outside, he can stop and go, or he can burst inside and, you know, dribble with it, and he's an eliminator, you know, and he breaks the sequence of a team, and he's so exciting to watch. But I've been so impressed with him, not only going forward, but his work rate against Burnley going back the way was fabulous to watch.
And of course we have to mention Phil Foden. The performance at Brentford was absolutely fantastic. He took the match ball home, his first hat-trick for 491 days since he did it against United here. He was exceptional, and he seems to be arriving in the right positions now as well, doesn't he?
I think he's got everything, Phil. He's such an intelligent player, and you can play him anywhere across the front three, or, you know, number 10, off the right, off the left. His game intelligence now is at such a high level, and obviously he's playing with quality players, but his finishing, FG, is like improving all the time as well. You know, his career already for a young man is exceptional, but he's that type of kid who's grounded and just wants more, and, you know, there's no better place to do it here than City.
And it's a massive opportunity for him today, because Kevin De Bruyne is, of course, on the bench, but probably potentially with the Champions League in mind, because he's coming back in. But you expect Phil to play in that central role and create, and obviously he's got Erling Haaland in front of him today as well.
I don't know where he'll play today, because Alvarez is in the team as well, and, you know, he can be a central player. I mean, he may start on the right with Doku on the left, but it doesn't matter. Phil will affect the game in some way, shape or form. Even, you know, against Burnley, you know, some of his movements and some of his play on the ball was just exceptional, you know, and he does things that other players can't do. So for me, he's one of those players, he's a manager's dream, where Pep will go, right, you're playing on the right today, son, or you're playing on the left, or you're playing off big Erling today, and Phil will just go, thanks, Gaffer, can't wait to get started. And he's just in great form, you know, and I think he's one of those players that you just love watching play.
Now, I have to ask you, I've been asked, a lot of people have told me to ask you this question. All right, early kickoff tax, does it exist? Like playing in an early kickoff, is it sort of a little bit of a different preparation? You have to wake up earlier, and is it potentially tougher to prepare and as teams to play? Because we do see a lot of shocks in early kickoff.
It can be. You know, if you have a Champions League game, say, and then you're playing at 12:30 on a Saturday, that's difficult because there's still game fatigue in your legs. But the fact that guys played on Monday evening, you know, they've had a couple of extra days to recover. And, you know, there's a great incentive for City today. You know, if they win the game before anyone else has kicked off the top of the league, and that sends out a real ominous message to the rest. So, yeah, the preparation is a little bit different. They'll open up, they've had breakfast maybe at 9:15, 9:30. Some guys I know would eat a plate of pasta even, like, you know, and not change the routine. But no, I would say they'll be pretty motivated, and, you know, it's really scary for the rest. You know, we're into the third quarter of the season and City are starting to really kick into gear now. The form recently has been fantastic. And when you consider that 1 win and 6 in the league, you know, around about November, December, their powers of recovery as well and mentality is fantastic.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic from you as well. I won't mind a plate of pasta at 9 in the morning. We've got Sean Wright-Phillips in the studio, and of course we're going to set Sean Wright-Phillips up, right? Because we've been told that Sean Wright-Phillips is an expert with the Super Bowl, right? That's what we've been told.
Oh, is he now?
Well, that's what we've been told, Sean. So let's head back to the studio and talk about the Super Bowl. Tell us everything you know, Shawnee.
Go on then, Sean. The floor is yours.
Don't know about the floor. As far as saying expert, I know enough to kind of get me by.
That's
and
good.
that's just what I was taught by some friends that I made along the way that play the actual game.
Amazing, because we're going to be talking about it later, so you'll be carrying the chat there. A couple of things to pick up on there from FG. Early game tax.
He's calling me out.
We'll call him out back. It's only fair.
He needs to get checked on that.
Yeah.
What does he mean, early game tax? Please, somebody explain it.
WhatsApp us, send us what he means with the early game tax. We get where he's coming from, though, obviously. It does sort of shift your whole day quite a lot forward. Would you, Richard, have preferred early kickoffs or the 3 o'clock?
No, the 3 o'clock was always my preferred one. It's weird with the early one. The atmosphere is different around the stadium. You can even feel it this morning. It doesn't feel as busy when you're driving into the place. But I suppose people are used to the evening kickoffs or afternoon kickoffs. I think we were talking earlier. We played Everton one Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Here in the Premier League. I think it was the earliest kickoff.
It's been a long time since, outside of the women's game, it's been a long time since we've seen an 11 o'clock kickoff, isn't
it's like a schoolboy kickoff time. So it was quite unusual at the time, but yeah, always the afternoon or evening games were preferred.
We should probably talk about the team news as well, shouldn't we? Let's start with our defensive line, 4 centre-backs. And as it was said there, last time we saw that, we won the treble, as Neil Lennon said. Still very much on. We'll take that. That's some good points for him. Yeah, what do you make of that back line?
I just think when you have John Stones in the team, that gives him the freedom to then move into midfield and play the role which he's been so good at over the last 18 months or so. Defensively, there's been games where we've dominated, but we have conceded goals. Not massively important goals, but you want to try and eradicate them now, getting into the business part of the season, where certainly in Europe the big goals against will cost us. So I think just to solidify, if you get 4 natural defenders in those positions, it makes it much more difficult for the opposition, and you don't lose any of the creativity because of John Stones being able to move into the midfield. And we were saying how good he is to watch as a footballer. He's developed and improved so much since his City career started, and yeah, every time he's in the team it's just brilliant and exciting to see him.
You kind of covered it there with saying there's no drawbacks, but you know, is there any disadvantages to not playing the fullbacks?
Not massively. I think the way City are and they dominate the ball, sometimes they'll try and overload you out on the wings, where you can have Kyle Walker or Guardiola pushing up and use their pace. They're equally as good when they try and dominate through the middle of the field and they overload in midfield, and you get an extra midfielder with Stones moving in. It just sort of takes a defensive player away from Everton, who has to step into midfield, and then that creates a space for the forward players. So yeah, they mix and match and they attack in different ways and different styles, and most of the time it works perfectly well regardless of what system they use.
Yeah, so as we expect, Everton will be lining up incredibly defensively, so that could be the key in breaking them down. They have been quite assured at the back, Everton, over the past, well, the start of the season, very goal shy. So maybe that could be the key in getting past them. Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. Could we see Phil Foden move maybe slightly more centrally?
First of all, I'm not happy because he was in my fantasy team.
Oh.
So I didn't get time to pull him out. So I wish you had told me that before. But anyway.
Oh, that was on me as well. That was actually my job. I told you. I gave you one bit of team news. Oh, you didn't tell me that. That is actually on me, that responsibility.
I think Neil Lennon hit it on the head. It doesn't really matter where Pep plays Phil. He always finds a way to affect the game in the right way. So he might start on the left, but no more than likely you're going to see him somewhere on the right picking up the ball in little sneaky pockets and creating chances for other people. And he seems to have a really good understanding when he plays with Alvarez in there, who goes out, who comes in, who presses, who doesn't. And it's nice to see him take as many shots as he has been doing of late. Like this one here against Everton that everyone's most probably seeing now, like it's a fantastic strike. He hit a few before he started scoring in the Brentford game, and I think if they are going to play with that low block Everton, the only way to get them to step out and create those spaces in behind is if people take those shots from outside the box. And it's something that teams that play progressive football and teams that can't get the ball off of them, they need to shoot from outside the box, not all the time, but just to say to the other team, like, if you don't step out, we've got the quality here to score from outside the box, so you need to decide what you're going to do, and that's when City can exploit them.
He's a player who's evidently so high on confidence, 8 goal involvements in 6 games, that hat-trick against Brentford, he's absolutely flying. How important would it be for him to keep this run going and, you know, find the back of the net or at least an assist against Everton today?
I wouldn't say it's massively important because he's done so much already, but as a player you always want to carry that run on, and I think he will want to carry that run on because when you're not on that run, sometimes it's hard to get back into the groove of things. So as long as he's doing what he has been doing, the chances are he'll most probably assist one today or even possibly score. So he looks, again, like he's really enjoying his football. And the one thing I'd say is different from, say, like when I was playing in them attacking areas to him now, is so much more concentrated on wingers and attackers putting up goals and assists and chances created. People forget about all the other stuff he does for the games where he's chasing fullbacks. He made an unbelievable tackle in a game against Brentford, which just went unseen. Everyone's talking about the positives that he does, but he does both sides of it, which is, for me, is phenomenal. I
think when you look at the stats, it's so easy, isn't it, just to focus on goal and assist, when actually what he does, the impact he has is so much bigger. When we talk about match sharpness and that momentum, Haaland had 90 minutes on Monday, but quite a quiet game against Brentford. What does he need to do to get into, you know, one of those streaks like we see Foden on at the minute?
Well, if he can get one assist and be quiet, I'll take that all day long, do you know what I mean? No, but it's normal. I think for him it may be a bit different, but if you look at, say, Pep's team, this team over the years, normally when people come back from injury, you can use Kevin like Newcastle came, you can use so many players. For whatever reason, they seem to just slot straight back into play like if they've never missed a game, whereas when I'd say me and Dunny were playing, if we were out for like 5 weeks, when we came into the game, we'd be rusty. There'll be certain things that we wouldn't do that we would normally do because we're trying to get used to it. But whatever Pep and his team do, everybody just seems to just blend right back into the game.
What do you think that is, Richard?
Just better preparation. Obviously, the scientists and everything that they work with now, they put them probably through training sessions which replicate match situations a lot better than what we did. And Sean's right, when you come back after a long layout, it was a case of, right, give them 4 or 5 games to get back up to speed. But now they're straight back in, and maybe they've with Kevin, they've taken a little bit longer in putting him back into the team. You've seen his return is like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour.
Yeah.
So, and then we take him back out, give him another rest again. And yeah, it's just the whole structure and science of the whole injury sort of department is much improved, and yeah, it's the players who reap the benefit from it.
Talking of rest, obviously a big match in the round of 16 in the Champions League coming up over in Copenhagen, the first leg. How much do you think the changes that Pep's made today, resting Bernardo, will have will he have that match with Copenhagen in the back of his head?
I think he will. I think between now and the end of the season, you'll see a lot of rotations because of the amount of games that will come up. Copenhagen have proved in the group stages that they're a decent enough side going forward, and having players like De Bruyne, maybe Grealish, Kyle Walker, Bernardo Silva, all having a rest this weekend can only benefit the club. And yeah, I'd imagine even Haaland, he might play an hour today and have a little rest, and then he'll be back fresh again to go again. So it's a huge part of the season, and having the whole squad fit and ready to go is massively important. And Pep has proven over the years that he's the best man to juggle all those players and make sure that they're all in prime sort of fitness when they're chosen.
It's prime fitness as well, but you mentioned it earlier, Sean, just before we find out the Everton team news. It's a lot about keeping these players happy as well, because you've got players like Alvarez who have gone off and, you know, he's incredibly young, but he's won pretty much everything. You know, won the World Cup, you know, a huge part of the treble-winning team last year. Keeping them happy as well. Pep just does it so well.
Well, winning does play a massive factor in that. But I think he's built almost a family within a family. I think all the players that are in this squad, they want each other to do well. So when that person does come in, the drive to do well kind of pushes that player to do well. It's like they always drive each other on to better themselves. I think that's what helps when training is so intense. And I used to remember when I was training, Dunny used to say to me in the morning, Sean, I'm going to apologise now because, you know, once I get started, I can't stop, so I might like come through you. But that's because he's game related all the time. Yeah. So that kept me on my toes, because as soon as I got the ball, if he was coming, I know Donny's coming. So I had to be careful, and it helped. It actually helped me in games because I knew if a bigger person came beside me, the odds are I was going to be on the ground. So I was always prepared, and I think that is what drives this team: the mentality to keep winning and always to be at that maximum, whether it's training or not.
We're very lucky today to be joined by Sean Wright-Phillips and Richard Dunn. Have an incredible career together. If you've got any questions for them, do send them in. You can see the number on the WhatsApp on the bottom of the screen. Also remember to head over to the Manchester City app. If you haven't got it downloaded yet, what are you waiting for? Go and download it onto your phones. We have live match commentary from Ali Mann and Neil Lennon later on. That's exclusive for Man City Plus, and lots of content over on the Manchester City app as well. So go and download it if you haven't already. Right, so we mentioned Everton. They're going to be lining up very defensively. Let's take a look at the team news for the opposition in this early kick-off today. Pickford starts in goal as expected. We've got a back four of Godfrey, Tarkowski, who captains Everton, Branthwaite, Mikalenko, another midfield four of Ashley Young, Idrissa Gueye, Garner, McNeil, and then we have Harrison, and he'll be slotting in behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and you can see the subs at the bottom of the screen as well. So, what do we make of that?
Yeah.
Very defensive.
Yeah, but I don't know if my eyes deceived me, but I saw Dele Alli, his name on there.
On the bench?
No, on the starting 11.
On the starting 11.
On the starting 11. That is a graphic error.
Okay.
That is a graphic error. Don't panic. I was like, I've got it written down here. I was like, oh, you had me panicking there for a minute. I was like, oh. No, he is still sidelined.
Yeah, so it is defensive, but it has its attacking elements to it as well. But it's not a surprise. I think anybody that comes to this place kind of, regardless of what players they have on the pitch, play that similar way. They don't come and try and be expansive. They sit back and wait for the chances or the mistakes to try and hit on a counter-attack. The only problem is, if City do score an early one, then your basically game plan is done. So I think City will come out like that, and Everton will be set up hoping for that not to happen. But when you've got Tarkowski in there, he's a guy that loves to die for the cause. Effectively, he puts his body in front of the ball. He's got that die-hard attitude, so it will be hard to break him down and find a way through.
They've been quite strong from set pieces. 50% of Everton's Premier League goals this season have come from set-piece situations. It's the highest in the league. City are going to have to be very switched on to defend against that. Yeah,
you look through Everton's side and there's not loads of creative players, so you know there's a big size in their team. Brantwaite's a big fella, Godfrey, Tarkowski, and they've done the same sort of thing last year. They came to the Etihad, they defended deep, and they got a great goal, and they managed to go away with a 1-1 draw after getting battered through the game. So Everton's game plan, whether it be Man City or any other team, they're not open and they're not like attacking and adventurous side. They're a structured team who have certain parts of their game which they're really strong on, and obviously set piece is one of them. So it's something that they'll try and play for, something they'll try and use, and I'm sure City will have worked on it in terms of just don't give free kicks away, don't give corners away, because that's where their danger is. And if City control the ball, well then hopefully that will nullify that threat.
Will that have come into Pep's mind when picking the team as well?
I was just about to say that with the foresight.
Back four, yeah,
possibly.
Because that's to be, you know, when you look at Everton's position in the league, to have then the most goals from set pieces as well, you know, that is a really interesting stat.
Yeah, and I think with Everton's position in the league, when you look at it on paper, it's like, oh, they're struggling a bit, but give them the 10 points back and they're up into a mid-table team, so they're not as bad as people think they are. They're just having obviously difficulties with the administration side of the Oaks, but they're a strong team. They're very experienced, they're very committed, and Sean Dyche's teams are always hard to play against. So it's it looks on paper, if we're playing a relegation threatened team, that it's an easy win, but they're a decent side and they'll be a real threat. They showed, I think they played Tottenham, was it last week, in the 2-2, and Tottenham are a good side and they gave them a real tough match.
And those goals, set pieces as well, and coming in, you know, particularly the last goal, Jared Brantwaite, in a very compact box and still managed to get it over the line. Only Liverpool have had more shots this season as well. Would that change? Do we expect that Everton will still come out and try and pepper City's goal, or, you know, what do you expect to see from them attacking-wise today?
Definitely not here. I don't think they will do that. They won't come here and leave themselves, for me personally, that exposed. I think if you did that, you'll be playing into Pep and City's hands. So I think they'll be like Dunny said. They'll play for the chances, the breakaways, the set pieces, and try and possibly stifle the way City play. Maybe turn it into an ugly game, which very rarely happens, but they will benefit better that way.
I think the way they go as well, they don't turn back, so they're not a team that's going to build up, and the fact they get so many shots in is every time they go forward, they just try and get something on target, and just because you see so many teams who build up, turn back, start again, and rotate the ball. These are just direct, and they want to get crosses in with, I think, McNeil and Harrison on the wing. So you've got Calvert-Lewin, who's a threat when the ball comes in the box. Yeah,
Calvert-Lewin though struggled this season. Obviously, we know what it's been like with injuries, but it's kind of complete opposite, isn't it? You know, they're quite goal shy this season. Everton, they've stood up defensively, quite a few 0-0 draws, but just haven't had, you know, really the effectiveness in front of goal. Whereas you look at City, and we've mentioned it so many times, we'll mention it so many more times across the course of the afternoon, when you've got Phil Foden in the form he is, when you've got Kevin De Bruyne, you know, coming back on an option from the bench today, and Haaland as well. It's sheer contrast. If you're a striker for Everton, there's probably a lot of weight on your shoulders today.
More than a lot of weight, and I think in terms of, say, Dominic and even Jack and even McNeil, they're your attacking players. That they need to step up effectively, not just the City, just throughout the season. I think there's too much weight. Say, they were all waiting for Dominic to come back. He's been out for, what, a year and a half, maybe 2 years. He hasn't played consistent football for. The game changes over the course of that. So for him to get to possibly where he was or close to it, it may take him a full season to actually believe in his body again. So that's still slightly protecting him. Beto comes on, he is a handful, but he's still not really that clinical in front of goal. So like you said, they are pretty goal shy in terms of getting goals, but they will always create problems because of that direct and they're aggressive when they do get the chances to go forward.
I think the way with Calvert-Lewin, because he's such an important player for them, and you think, well, they're good because they've got a really good striker up there, but he also restricts massively how they play, because he doesn't have the movement, he doesn't have the fluidity of like someone like Haaland. He's very one-dimensional what he does, and when the opportunities come, unfortunately for him, he's not being scoring the goals, and you think, right, we've got a really good striker, but maybe we need something else, we need someone different, people who can move, people who can run in behind. So yeah, he needs a goal. He thought he got one last week, but I think Harrison took it on the line.
It's so close, Everton will also be out without Sean Dyche on the touchline. He's going to be watching from the stands. I was talking to Ashley Young in the week, and he said that the manager is the catalyst in how they've coped with the points deduction and how they're now so focused, laser focused on getting out of the relegation zone. What difference does it make, Sean, having the manager, and particularly a manager like Sean Dyche, up in the stands?
For us, for City, it's a positive, I think, because he's that person that will lift them if they start off slow. He will get them up to scratch as quick as possible, because he knows what it takes. Like Danny said, to play against Sean Dyche's teams have always been hard. He has that no-die mentality, and he's always screaming and barking orders from the sidelines. And you can tell in his voice when he does his interviews after a game, it sounds like he's just been shouting for 90+ minutes at the top of his voice. And that replicates onto the players. If the players can see our manager acting that way, players naturally buy into it and do the same thing. And it's going to be hard for them today in respect of that, because some of them may turn to look for him in time of need, and he's not going to be there. Whereas I think in a lot of respects with City, it's completely different. They all know their jobs inside and out. It never really changes, no matter what position they play in. It just seems they know what they're meant to do. So Pep can be anywhere, but I still feel like City will still play the same. Whereas I think in Everton's position, they may need that extra boost, especially like Dunny said, with that point deduction. They need the extra body.
No, it's a brilliant insight from you, Sean, today. I think watching this match, if both of them were down on the touchline, it's one of the ones you want a bench cam for, isn't it? Just to watch them, because they're both such expressive managers. We can go from one ginger manager to another. We'll go back down to FG and Neil Lennon to get some more reaction to that Everton team news.
Yes, thank you very much, Ellen. Welcome back to the Etihad Stadium. We've seen the Everton team news. Let's start from the back, shall we? Because we feel like Everton might be a little bit busy. And there's a man, Jared Branthwaite, we're big fans of here, aren't we?
Well, he's made huge strides this season. You know, when you looked at him when he first came into the team, he looked young and gangly. But they grew into their bodies, you know, and the more experience he's had, and playing alongside Tarkowski has been a big influence on him. But he has been outstanding, I have to say. You know, athletically, he looks good. He covers the ground. He's good in the air. And of course, Sean Dyche, you know, you wouldn't play him if you didn't think he was good enough, and the kid's been outstanding.
Now, looking at the Everton team, we sort of think it's sort of as strong as they can go in this situation. But looking at how they played at the game at Goodison, where they were very much involved in the game, we think the wingers could be key here. We think maybe potentially Jack Harrison, former City player, of course, and obviously Calvert-Lewin and his strength up top.
Yeah, I mean, if you watched them last year against Brighton, they played Brighton played a similar way to City did. And Everton thumped them 5-1. And what they did was got narrow and then broke on the outsides of the teams. And they always try to keep Calvert-Lewin through the middle and counter-attack. And he's a big, strong boy, you know, and in one-on-one situations he could get the better of central defenders. So that's something that obviously Sean Dyche will be working on. And they're a away team, and they know they're not going to have a lot of possession, but they're going to have to maximise the counter-attacks as best they can.
Do you think it's a case of just leaving Calvert-Lewin up top and just trying to get him to hold on to the ball and try and force these one-on-one situations? Because like you said, in a 1v1, Calvert-Lewin's very, very confident, and he's a strong guy, and he holds the ball up really well.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think, why not? You know, and will that make Pep bring an extra defender back? I don't think so, because Pep will go, listen, you defend 1v1, you still got Ederson to beat as well. So Pep will have his game plan out for Everton, but it'll be more about what Man City do with the ball and without the ball. Their work rate against Burnley off the ball, FG, in the last game is sensational, and the hunger's there now, and they smell it. You know, these great players, they smell it. They've been over the course and distance before, and they know what it takes to get over the line in these games.
Of course, we have got that extra game against Brentford coming up, which will be our game in hand. But this is super important, because there is a chance for Manchester City to go top of the table, albeit before the fixtures that happened before. But it's a massive psychological boost, isn't it?
Oh, massive, yeah. And then teams start looking at City and going, oh, they're coming. It's a bit like Tiger Woods back in the day in the back nine. Here they come. Here he comes, you know, and then everyone else starts sweating.
Well, spoken like a true winner, like you were as a player and a manager. Neil, thank you for joining us pitchside. Let's head back. We'll be back at full time. Let's head back to the studio.
I love the content that those two are throwing out. What a pair they are. Looking forward to commentary with Neil Lennon and Ali Mann. Remember, if you haven't already, go and download the City app, get it on your phones, and you can listen to the commentary of the match with, of course, Ali Mann and Neil Lennon. Well, it's been lovely to have you two in the studio. What a career you have, mostly shared together. 626 appearances, that's quite some number shared between the pair of you. And some huge moments as well. I'll allow you to pick one each to start with, and then we'll go through a list of what we've got. Richard, what is your favourite memory playing for Manchester City, in the blue of Manchester City, alongside Sean Wright-Phillips over there?
I'd say of all the players that I played with, Sean was my favourite because he just made you enjoy football. It was just brilliant. Honestly, he would run down the lane.
That smile's infectious in the laugh, isn't it?
And he just played with that smile all the time, and it was just brilliant playing with him. And I remember as a young boy when you were starting, and I think he chipped a goalkeeper in the Championship. He just lobbed it over him again that main road.
I think that was Tim Flowers.
Was it? Yeah. It was just brilliant. Just incredible. And obviously he scored an amazing goal down at Millwall as well in front of an empty stand and went up and celebrated with nobody basically. But yeah, there was just so many with Sean. He was a brilliant player, and it was tough for us, I suppose, at City, because we knew we've got a superstar here. Someone's going to come and take him away at some stage, and rightly so. Chelsea took him, and he went on to do great things there. So it was, just playing alongside Sean was a real joy.
Sean, when he wasn't trampling over you, what are your favourite memories of playing with that man?
No, my game is obviously Millwall. I think Millwall at the Den was the game, because I think it was a year, nearly a season, where I just didn't score. No matter how many times I tried, keeper stayed, it hit the post, or it just went wide. And then the one time I did score was at the Den when we always said the fans are celebrating, so we was talking about it, Dan, and we said, well, if we win or if we score, we're just going to basically celebrate or jump over the other side and sit in the fan seat and do the celebration. So that's always a game that stands out for me.
Let's go through some of your other iconic wins together. We'll start off back in 2002-2003 season, beating Liverpool 2-1, and then went on for 18 years without winning after that. But we won't mention that again. Memories of this game. What an iconic win this is.
Just looking at that goal there, and that's a goal that you'd expect this team to score. One-touch passing and moving and stuff like that. And it's crazy because you win those games. I remember Peter Schmeichel was absolutely unbelievable in the match. I think he might have saved the penalty as well. But you win and you think, well, that's a good win. You don't think, certainly the way that Man City went, that it was going to take them another 18 years to win again.
Yeah, but the game was just fun in general. Like, it's always fun. I felt going to Anfield, it's always a hard place to go, and to score the goal the way we scored it, like Dunny said, it was almost like tiki-taka-esque. And the way Nick Anelka finished that was just like a delightful goal to be.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
So graceful when he ran across the grass and how he struck the ball. He was brilliant.
We're going to head into the FA Cup, 2003-2004. A 3-4 win over Spurs. Spurs have always been on those sides, haven't they? What a game this was.
It was a speech before Ed had done it. The speech was, try not to concede goal too early, because we know at White Hart Lane they come at the traps quick. Before we knew it was 2-0 down. It was like, oh man. But this game was, for us, it was incredible, especially like half-time and everybody's raging in the changing room, and then Arthur Cox just comes from nowhere and goes like, we're still in this, we can do this. And we all kind of looked at each other like to say, really?
I think the mentality was just survive, because you're 3-0 down, you're down to 10 men, you're thinking, we're in trouble here.
And then it's like, you get one goal and it was like, oh, maybe we might be in this now. And then Spurs just crumbled, basically.
Robbie Keane was playing centre-forward for Tottenham at the time, and I think a couple of weeks beforehand they'd been in a similar situation where they went 3-0 up against United and got beat 5-3 or something. And when we scored the first, he was raging, and he went, "You'll win this now." No chance, but we ended up going on and getting it.
When it's a topic that comes up a lot. Spurs, going down to Spurs, not scoring goals, the bogey team. When you hear that, when we talk about this era of Manchester City players, is that the first game that springs to mind?
No.
But does it it must evoke those memories? When you have that that involvement in that game and thinking, we were down there and we did that.
Do you know what? I don't know. I never even put those two together, to be honest with you, because we've always gone, when we played, we always went to White Hart Lane. It was always an interesting game, because like I said, it was always kind of end-to-end the way City were then. We was kind of like gun-ho and kind of just left Dunny and everybody to deal with kind of the mess. That's that's kind of how we kind of played, especially under Kevin Keegan. We was just, let's go for it. But I think if you do look over like Pep's games that he's played there, or City has been there, we've literally dominated every game. You
Yeah.
just can't score, and then Spurs will go on counter-attack with one chance, score one, then have another counter-attack and score two. And I think it happened in a game here as well where we destroyed them and we came in at half-time 2-0 down. And I was like, how is this possible? And I think that was just the way Spurs played then. But I think with Ange, it's completely different because because of the way he plays, you're going to get some chances as well, clear-cut ones. And City were unlucky to only score that one goal in that game. But it's definitely been the bogey team because I was at that game, and when a goal gets disallowed, you're like, oh my God, is this thing real?
Yeah,
this
is this
bogey
real?
thing really real sort of thing. So I do see where everyone's coming, but I never put two of them together.
Let's stay in the 03-04 season and talk about the Manchester derby that season. At home, 4-1.
You know
The last minute,
you know how much I was dying for that ball to roll out the pitch? Right? It just wouldn't go. And then the fans were just started cheering before I even got to the ball.
Roebuck.
Yeah.
Pull the Roebuck
I told everyone I did it before Peter Crouch, they didn't believe me. Yeah.
That was an amazing game.
Why didn't he go out, Dunny? I'm still confused now.
Just one of those days where, because United were obviously the superpower at the time, they were an incredible team, but we always gave them trouble when they came to our home. And that, I think, was that the first derby or the second derby at the Etihad?
I think that might have been the first one, you know.
I think that was the first one.
It
was just an unbelievable goal, and I think it was right towards the end of the game. And because we played so well, we dominated the match. We battered United. It was like, how can this get any better? And then he goes and does that in the last minute. It was just brilliant.
I got a lot of stick for it because a lot of the fans over the years have always bet Man City to win 3-1. So it's 3-1 until basically injury time.
Yeah.
And then I go and do that. So I got a little bit of abuse after the
Can you
game.
do that celebration for us now?
Need a few drinks. I'm not as nimble as that.
Right, we'll send someone out during the match. Get that back on at half-time. Yeah, it was the first derby day here.
Yeah.
What a welcome.
Yeah, because me personally, I don't know. I was quite worried in the change because Main Road was like unbelievable place to play. It was always noisy. Obviously, the pitch wasn't as nice as say the Etihad, but the way it was all set up was perfect. And normally to leave home to go to a new home, it normally starts a lot slower. But it almost felt like that changed the direction of the club and the club's goals because we started. Even the Arsenal came there and couldn't beat us. It's like any team that came there, we gave them a run for their money, and that was kind of like the changing point between who we were to who we're now going to become, sort of thing, and then it just kind of kicked on from there.
Yeah, you mentioned Arsenal, City beating Arsenal 3-0 in 2008-2009, and that's the season we're going to stick in for our last one. And we've spoken about big wins, but let's talk about a numerical big win, 6-0 over Pompey on, I believe, your birthday, Richard.
Yeah.
And you found the back of the net.
Which is the weirdest part of it. Funny because my daughter was the mascot that day, so we just found the photograph last week. We were looking at it, but yeah, there wasn't many days like that when we completely outplayed and dominated a team. And we had obviously Alano was in the team, I think, at that stage, and players like that who could create opportunities. And that was obviously your second coming, was it, when you came back? So unbelievable result. Another nice goal.
Just love scoring against David Jones.
I was going to say, your mate down there, innit?
He'll have some excuse as to why that went in.
Have you had any words about that afterwards?
I just said, why'd you get beaten at your near post? That's that's his area.
Basic, isn't it? Really. Getting goals, show him how it's done. Some brilliant memories there. It's a real pleasure to have you both in the studio, and we can catch up with another Manchester City legend, our very own Paul Dickov, who is out somewhere across the world. He's in Argentina. He's on a trophy tour, so let's check in with Paul.
Hey everyone, yours truly here from Buenos Aires on the Treble Trophy Tour. So lucky, ain't I? Just want to give you a little update on what we've been doing while I've been here. Yesterday we visited a lot of iconic landmarks in here, and we took all the trophies, not just 2 of them, took all 5 of them too, which was special to see. You know, Buenos Aires is a beautiful, beautiful city. last night was a little trip to the British Embassy where I had to be my best behaviour, had to be very smart. Sean Wright-Phillips, you wouldn't have got in, not some of the gear that you've got on. And then today we've had a fantastic day. We met Rami, who was the head of the Buenos Aires Supporters Club. A little bit of lunch, tried a lot of Argentinian meats, which was beautiful. No wine involved though, believe that if you want. And then as Shawnee Wright-Phillips, you'll know that one of the best things we call away in Trophy Tour is the community stuff we do. And we spent a fantastic afternoon with the Citizens Giving Project, with all our young leaders and the communities in and around Buenos Aires, and it was just a special, special day. And to finish off our second last night, we're here at the Puma store with the 2 trophies. Obviously, big queues, fans everywhere. So it's just been amazing to see. I say it all the time, I'm a very lucky boy to represent the club and things like this. And finishing it up in the Puma shop tonight. I'm going to get myself some gear, but I was going to get you some, Dunny, but there's no extra large left, and then Shawnee, there's definitely no extra baby sizes left, so you're struggling, mate. So I know he's there for the game. We were doing a fan screening, 1,500 fans there already, sold out, thousands wanting to get in, so looking forward to that before we head back. As always, love you all, and come on City. We've got a few people want to send a message back to the studio.
Side of the world, but no one's safe, from Paul Dickoff and his digs. I'll give you a moment to respond to that. Right of response for you, Sean Wright-Phillips?
No, I'm going to let him have this one. I call him out a bit too much, so I'll let him take this one.
We saw some of the incredible community work that Manchester City are doing with the trophy tour. It's something that you've been involved in the past. It must be incredible to go out and take the trophies around, but also be really involved in communities in different countries.
Yeah, that is the special part of it. I think some people see it from a different perspective and see it that, City are just out showing off that silverware, where effectively it's not. There's a lot more to it in respects of those trophies are going to City fans that may never ever get to come to the stadium to even watch a game live. So at least they get to feel a part of the club they love so much. But then when you're doing the work in the communities, especially with like Asylum and things like that, and you're teaching the kids the Clean Water Project and how to clean their hands and things like that, it's amazing. And I've always said it from a young age, City have always done stuff in the community, especially in Manchester. And all they've done now they're a powerhouse, they've just taken what they've always done in Manchester global, and every City fan's benefiting from it. And the partners that they have on board have been tremendous in putting that all together.
It's like you mentioned earlier, from a team perspective, off the pitch as well, it really is a family.
Yeah, and it's for me, it always will be. I remember they used to make me do the pantomime when I was like 17. Remember, Dunny, I was quite shy back then. I wasn't a really chatty
We need
one,
footage of that, please. During the match, let's get footage of that.
The kids were going for it, and I'm there all nervous and stuff like that. I was like, whoa, this is a bit too much. But I still did it every year because it was something that City did, and that's just how the club's always been.
You know that you shouldn't mention that in front of us.
You can't find it. There's no video evidence.
Well, if not, then we're going to get a Dame costume and you're going to do half-time dressed as a Dame. And if that's not enough to look forward to, we've got lots going on this weekend, and one of the biggest events in the sporting calendar is happening on Sunday night. It is the Super Bowl. Sean, you've already mentioned you've got a little bit of a soft spot for NFL.
Yeah, a little bit. It's just because a few friends that I knew I bumped into in my travels through mutual friends. They were actual players, so they taught me a little bit about it. Then I lived in America, so didn't really have a choice but to learn a bit more about it. And it's an interesting game if you understand it. The ball's not in play much, but the tactical side of it and the way they think's like, for me, is unbelievable. So when I did a tour with City just recently, and we ended up at the Baltimore Ravens on our little winning streaks, sadly, before they came out. And they had a game, and the manager had checked the weather forecast. And I said to him, why would you do that? He said, because I know it's going to be raining a lot, so we have to try and keep the ball off the ground because it's going to be quite slippy, basically. So the tactical side of it is like way up there. And to be fair, he's a massive City and Pep fan. Like, just by the way, he watches all the games and everything, and it's creative. I love the quarterbacks, the running backs. I'm quite interested into how it all works.
So that is on Sunday. Kansas City Chiefs play the San Francisco 49ers. It's a repeat of the 2020 Super Bowl final, which was won by the Chiefs. And this week we asked you both for your fantasy 5-a-side all-star American football team, but made up of players who you've played with in your career. Quite the task. Sean, let's start with your team.
Yeah.
There we can take a look at it. So, quarterback, David Silva. Talk us through your reasoning there.
Because if anybody's seen him play and anybody kind of understands how quarterbacks work, not only do they have to pick passes and pick the right ones and find a space to put the pass in, they also have to be able to move in like that pocket, because you've got people coming at you at all angles. So if you have to find a way out, step forward or step back, and I think David Silva, we've seen him do that with a football, so he just seemed like the right person for me.
I'm obsessed with this level of analysis that you've gone into. The work has been put in here from Sean Wright-Phillips. So let's go out to your wide receivers, Micah Richards and Vincent Kompany.
Well, when they get going, they're quite quick.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier for David to kind of pick them out. Once they're gone, they chuck a shoulder and they're gone, and they're strong as well, so it'll be hard to bring them down. I can imagine someone trying to tackle Mika. He'll most probably still be running with them around.
Yeah, exactly. If Micah Richards is up to pace, I'm stepping out the way.
So that's why I went with those two.
Your tackle, very own Richard Dunn here.
Yeah, well, I explained that at the beginning. He basically says to me every day at training, once I get going, get out of the way because I can't stop. So I feel sorry for the person on the receiving end when he's going with his shoulder into you.
So that's from experience. That is from experience. And your kicker, Joe Hart.
Yeah, he can.
Boot on him.
Yeah, he can launch them.
Lovely. Let's head over to Richard's team now. Richard, are you an NFL fan?
I have no idea about NFL.
Amazing,
so,
great.
I get excited by the halftime show and think I'll watch it, but then I'm
It's all about
asleep.
the food, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So let's take a look through your team. Oh, I love that you've gone for each other.
Yeah.
Love that. Sean Wright-Phillips as your wide receiver alongside Martin Petrov.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't really understand the game, so it's, but I knew they were two wingers, and I think with Martin you've got someone who was just unbelievable as change of direction. So I've seen them where they spin away from people and try and get on the ball, and with Sean, it just, no matter who tackled him or how hard he got tackled, he'd always end up on his feet. So
Can
it was
I
perfect.
just stop you and have a quick look at who's in goal there?
David
again.
There we go, back again. We do love David James. Just want to put that out there. We have quarterback Peter Schmeichel. Keepers have got good representation in your team today.
Yeah, well, Peter could throw the ball probably the full length of the pitch, and I thought that might be an asset in the game. I wasn't sure whether we were going actual footballers like Sean went, or what would fit the role in a game of American football. I was thinking about Kevin Horlock or Alano to play in that role, similar to Sean was saying with David Silva, but I think Schmeichel's got the longest throw in the game, so go with him.
Tackler, another shout out for Micah Richards.
Yeah, just goes for itself. I mean, Mika's as strong as an ox, so he could just literally block anyone trying to get near Peter, which again I think would be helpful.
Who, if in training, Micah Richards or Richard Dunn, if they're coming at you, who's worse? Who's the worst prospect to be faced with? Sean?
Well, neither of them could stop, so I was in trouble either way.
Yeah. Steamrolled, you know. Yeah.
And we've got a positive shout out, your kicker, David James.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jamie used to go to America and try and kick out for NFL practice and stuff in his off season, so I think it's a game that he understands and loves, so
Yeah, he does.
it'd be bad not to pick him.
And we've actually seen in the past US national team keepers make the switch over. Josh Lambo used to be in the US national team, then moved over to the NFL, switched sports because obviously the traits so similar and preferred. It's not just Sean and Richard who have been getting into the Super Bowl spirit though this week. We've been asking members of the first team squad for their predictions.
Chiefs or Niners? Pat. Chiefs.
Chiefs or Chiefs? Okay, what do you think?
50-50, mate.
Gareth, tell me.
hoping Chiefs, but I think 49ers.
Chiefs. I hope. It's coming home.
I'm hoping Chiefs, but I think 49ers. Because they've been better this year.
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Oh, 40.
I need your prediction. Chiefs or 49ers?
Chiefs. Chiefs are going to win it. Think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but Chiefs are going to do enough, so they're going to win in the end.
Top.
Well, I'm not surprised that Mama Akanji had a good answer there. I was actually tipped off by a colleague at Sky Sports who said that he sat down, he's a big fan of NFL, and sat down with Manu Akanji, and they'd had a conversation about how into fantasy NFL Manu Akanji is. So he's got the fantasy team going. I wonder who's giving him the tips of who's in and who's out.
Definitely ain't me.
It's not you. It's not me either. But yeah, so some big sporting events coming up over the course of the weekend. Obviously a big game here, the 12:30 kick-off in the Premier League. Manchester City with the chance to go top of the table. Got a brilliant record against Everton, won 12 of the last 13 games, drew 1, that was 1-1 last time they were here at the Etihad. Did you have any favoured opposition?
Not really. I mean, I used to love playing in the derby against Man United. I mean, never had a team that we constantly went and beat or anything like that. But in terms of fixtures, you wanted to play against the big sides, and playing here against Man United was a game that you always believed that you were going to win. So I enjoyed playing in them.
I just enjoyed playing football, to be honest.
Just love football.
Yeah, just didn't think about it. Didn't matter who I was playing. Yeah, just wanted to cross the white line.
Because like games that you win or clubs that you win against constantly or you lose, every game's different. You don't go in going, oh, we've got this bad record or whatever. Yeah. It's just happens to be like that. But yeah, there's no benefit from playing, say, Everton over and over and over and over and over because you always win them, because it doesn't work out like that.
It's always going to be a different result, effectively, it feels like.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that, because obviously the media makes such a big hype over, you know, like we mentioned earlier, City hadn't scored at Spurs, they hadn't scored at that stadium, you know, bogey teams, this idea of a bogey team. But as a player, you're saying you don't think about that at all?
I don't think for a player it exists. I don't. Maybe there might be a place where a player has been and he's got injured and he doesn't want to go back to that ground and he doesn't have the best to look at that ground. But against teams, I never see it, because it's like 9 times out of 10 they've got a different manager, they've a different set of players, it's a different moment in time. It's just coincidence, isn't it? Rather than they've got a mental block against this. It just seems to happen from time to time. And you look at like City's record against Tottenham and stuff like that, and that's like a record that probably should belong to our team back in the day rather than what it is now. But I don't think it's because of a mental block. It's just what happens in games at the time.
Well, we haven't heard from FG for a while. We've let him loose around the Etihad, and it's always a slight worry when we haven't heard from him. So let's go down and see what he's been up to. I hear he's with a very special guest.
Yes, thank you, Ella. Welcome to Pitside here at the Etihad. Now, the title race is going to kick-start again, so I'm joined by the man himself, Example. Let's talk about the title race. Let's talk about you being here first. Welcome back to Manchester.
Mate, I don't know what I've done to deserve this, but I'm playing at O2 Victoria Warehouse tonight. You have to say O2, apparently. Sold out. You've got tickets.
I've got tickets.
No, I haven't put him on the guest list. He's got tickets already, which is amazing. And, yeah, I freaking love this city. Yeah. I really, really like the city. Like, I live in Australia now. I'm from London. I support Fulham. I'm not too keen on London in general anymore. I'm kind of outgrown it. But Glasgow and Manchester, I love coming to. Gig crowds, amazing. Amazing food, amazing nightlife, architecture, culture, football. And it's honestly a pleasure to be invited as a guest.
It's a pleasure to have you here, it really is. Now, speaking of football, you can see the champions of the world behind us.
Champions of the world?
We are going to use that a lot, of course. Let's talk about the title race, shall we? Like, I know, as a Fulham fan, you've actually had a bit of a say in the title race so far this year.
Yeah, we have. To be honest, first and foremost, as a Fulham fan, I just want to make it clear, I'm just happy to be in the Premier League. No expectations. But, yeah, we've had some games we shouldn't have won. We've won, and some games we shouldn't have lost. We've lost, but I guess that's just the Premier League these days, right? But I think from a neutral point of view, I just love great football, and if it's a title race that's close, I'm excited, and obviously I think this is the best season we've had in years.
Where do you think the title race is going to go? I mean, that's my next question.
I think you guys are really good at second half of the season. You're like speciality. Arsenal, I don't know, maybe Arteta's learned from previous seasons that he can do something about that, but the money has to be on City. But I'd also, just for the sake of mixing it up a bit, I'd love to see Liverpool win as well.
Yeah, well, it is a three-horse race. It absolutely is. Now, let's talk real quick about your tour that you're currently on then. So how's it been so far? You're in Manchester, like you said, tonight, and then you just continue travelling.
Yeah, so I live in Australia now, so I fly over to do these tours every year now. Obviously, festival season in Europe, like May till September. Headline tours usually either November or February. I have to leave the kids for a month, which is tough, but do you know what else, mate? I'm 41. I've been doing this since 2000. My first Manchester gig was 2005, and I'm just happy to keep one back and having sold out gigs.
Well, we're really happy to have you here, and to be honest, if I can look like you at 41, I'll be very, very happy. Let's head back.
I'll give you that tenner later.
Let's head back to the studio as empty an example.
Nice one, guys.
Well, he used all my really good puns there, so I'm short of puns now, but always great to send FG out and about, and great to hear from Example as well. Let's take one last look through the team news before we get the final thoughts from our studio guests. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there. Ederson in goal, John Stones, Akanji, Ruben Dias and Ake, the back four. Nunes and Rodri. We then have Foden, the star man, the man of the moment. He starts today. Alvarez, Doku and Haaland. It is a very strong Manchester City team, a team in full strength and full fitness, and lots of options on the bench as well, Sean.
Well, it's the first time in I think nearly a year that they've had no injuries and they've got a full squad to select from. So that's a massive positive, especially going into the business end of the season. But at the minute, the way it stands, even with the young kids in there, no matter who he puts on the pitch, it seems to be a strong City team that will cause a lot of people problems.
And a team in great form at the minute in Manchester City, boosted by obviously having a fully fit squad against a team that they love scoring against.
Yeah, it's just good to see everyone back fit, and certainly Haaland, he's the one that we want to see getting the goals again, and it won't take long for him, I think, to get back up to speed and get running again. I think the last game that I seen here was the Burnley match, and Nunes was outstanding. Someone who's taken a little bit of time to grow into his position, but he's been outstanding, and hopefully he can produce that again today.
First person to get on the score sheet today, what are you saying?
Go Foden.
Foden?
I'm actually going Haaland.
Going Haaland?
Yeah.
And a score prediction from the pair of you?
I think it'd be 2-0.
2-0?
City,
I'm going 3.
3-0.
Yeah. Can't be the same as Donny after.
Were you going to go 2-0?
Yeah.
Fair play. Well, you can see the players in the tunnel just preparing themselves. We will hand you over to the commentary team. Neil Lennon is alongside Ali Mann.
Well, thank you, Ellen. It's likely to be for only a matter of hours, perhaps, but victory today for the Blues, and they will be back where many feel they belong, at the top of the Premier League table. They've been playing catch-up for some time, and in truth, their game in hand will be when they meet Brentford at the Etihad Stadium in 10 days' time. But for now, they will go in seek of their 10th successive victory in all competitions, a run which has seen them really ramp up the pressure on the title rivals Liverpool and Arsenal, who have been sharing top spot in City's absence. Everton come here off the back of a hard-fought draw